Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive shift in technology, the rise of AI agents. Now, with all this incredible power comes a huge security headache. So we're going to break down the new playbook for protecting this wild new future. So let's just start with a number, just to set the stage. Gartner is predicting that by 2026, we're going to see over 25 billion AI agents in use. I mean, just let that sink in. We're talking billions of autonomous services, all out there connecting and making decisions by themselves. And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. It is happening as we speak. This agentic architecture is basically a total rewiring of how tech works. We're moving away from these static apps you have to click on to dynamic services you can actually have a conversation with. But with all that amazing transformation comes some serious risk. This agent revolution is creating a completely new kind of attack surface, something that security pros are, just now really starting to wrap their heads around. Think about it for a second. Every single chatbot, every data analysis tool, every automated workflow, each one is a brand new door that an attacker could potentially walk through. So what makes securing them so darn different from traditional security? Well, here's the fundamental difference right here. Our traditional web apps, they were like centralized fortresses. You had one app, a couple of entry points, and a human was always in control. AI agents are the exact opposite. They're like a distributed swarm, creating billions of autonomous endpoints that all act on their own. The attack surface isn't just bigger, it's a completely different animal. So yeah, it's pretty clear that our old security strategies just aren't gonna cut it. You can't just bolt on some security at the very end and call it a day. If we're gonna defend against this whole new class of threats, we need a new playbook, one designed from the ground up specifically for this agentic era. And that brings us to the playbook itself. The main idea here is defense in depth. Forget looking for a single silver bullet. It doesn't exist. This is all about building layers of security so that if one layer fails, there's another one right behind it to catch the threat. It's a multi-layered strategy for a very multi-layered problem. This playbook is built on 3 core pillars. We're going to work from the inside out. First, you reinforce the application's core. Then you build a really strong perimeter defense to shield it. And finally, you have to protect the keys to the kingdom, the credentials. So let's break each of those down. Okay, so reinforcing the core. This is all about locking down the fundamentals. That means starting with strong authentication, knowing exactly who or what is making a request, using great tools like Clerk or Auth.js. It also means encrypting all your data, whether it's just sitting there or flying across the network. And it means you treat every bit of incoming data as hostile until you've proven it's safe. All right, the next layer of defense is your perimeter, your proactive shield. Here, we're using firewall policies to block bad traffic based on where it's coming from. We're putting in a web application firewall, a WAF, to guard against all the common attacks. And we're enforcing rate limiting on our most important APIs to stop them from being overwhelmed or abused. Now for a piece of advice that is absolutely 100% non-negotiable. One of the most common ways huge catastrophic breaches happen is simple. A developer just accidentally commits a secret API key to a public code repository. It happens. But using environment variables and .gitignore files stops this cold. It's such a simple practice, but it can literally save you from disaster. But look, building a fortress is only half the job. A fortress is only as good as its last test, right? To really make sure our systems are secure, we have to start thinking like an attacker. We have to proactively hunt for our own weaknesses. This is basically the attacker's checklist. A pen tester using a toolkit like Kali Linux isn't just poking around randomly. No, they are systematically looking for these specific flaws. APIs left wide open, weak passwords on admin accounts, or ways for a normal user to get into places they shouldn't. And, of course, the grand prize, stealing personally identifiable information, PII. Finding even one of these can unravel everything. So we've seen the threat, and we've walked through the playbook. But why does mastering all of this matter so much right at this moment? What are the real long-term stakes here? Because the skills we're talking about, they're not just for one project. These are the foundational skills for the entire next decade of technology. We are literally building the architecture that's going to support a world of autonomous services. And getting the security right from the very beginning is absolutely critical. To build these systems securely, you really need a modern, interconnected tech stack. You've got your framework like Next.js, Vercel for deployment, Prisma for safe database access, Auth.js for security. But the new piece, the really crucial one, is this multi-agent communication protocol, or MCP. Think of it as a universal translator that lets different AI agents, say one from Google and one from OpenAI, talk to each other securely. Mastering this entire stack is what makes the difference between a cool prototype and a real production-ready system. This challenge is also completely breaking down the old silos in companies. Security is no longer just for the security team. Now developers are on the front lines, and they have to build secure code from day one. Even business analysts have to design agent use cases that are secure by design. It's really become a core competency for pretty much everyone involved in building modern tech. And that kind of brings us to the final question. The agentic revolution isn't some trend you can just watch from the sidelines. It is here, and it is picking up speed like crazy. So you've really got to ask yourself, is your playbook ready? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.